Hey guys, Mr. Steve Lopez here. Today we are going to be doing day 1 of lesson 8.2. So you are in the right place. This is the first video that you guys should be watching. So a few things before we get started. Make sure you have your lesson 8.2 notes readily available, and then also your Unit 8 math book. Now to start off, you don't need your slate. I just want you to be watching the video, okay? So last week we were talking about multiples with unit fractions. We're still to this week going to be talking about multiples, and we're still going to hear about unit fractions, but today we are going to be using just multiples of fractions. So we know that whole number world, multiples get bigger and bigger and bigger. Basically, multiples are skip counting. So the first 5 multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And you can also think of multiples as like your multiplication facts. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20, and so on and so on and so on. So fraction world, pretty similar. There's not much of a difference aside from it being a fraction and the denominator's there. So just like in all the lessons we've done so far, the denominator is going to stay the same. So I want to show you, because this is in your notes, step number 1. Actually, let me write the problem here for your notes. So the problem in your notes is 4 times 2/3. So they are solving 4 times 2/3. Now, what it says in your notes is to actually, the step number 1, it says pop in a denominator of 1 under the whole number. Now, I'm not a super big fan of this because, in my opinion, I feel like when you go to 5th grade, if you start doing this, it's going to set you up for bad habits. But I'll show you the way I like you to do it, so that way you don't get into that habit. But I just wanted you to be able to reference this if you needed it. So now, if you're putting that 1 under your whole number, you're just going across and you're multiplying. So you're going to think 1 times 3 is 3, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 4 times 2/3 would equal 8/3. Now, that's how your notes are set up. What I'm going to recommend you do is to just think of it this way. We know that so far our denominator has always stayed the same. That's going to be the same case with today's lesson. So you just pop that denominator over. Now, I'm just going to multiply my whole number times my numerator. 4 times 2 is 8. Denominator stays the same, 8/3. Okay? So that's the basis of the lesson. There are 2 other things that we're going to look at in 8.2, but that's the basis of it. All right? So something else I want to, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes on the computer. Something else I want to pay attention to in this lesson is, again, the language and what the directions are asking us. A lot of 4th graders get very excited because they think, this isn't super difficult, I can breeze through this. And you're right, you can breeze through this for the most part. Something, though, that will trip a lot of us up is the language and the directions. Many of us will not read the directions. So we want to make sure that we always read the directions. All right? So one of the directions you're going to see today looks very similar to something we saw last week. It'll say, write the product, which means multiply, of a product of a whole number. So there's that whole number world. That's the number symbol. And a unit fraction. So 1 over whatever, right? A unit fraction always has 1 in it. So they want you to write the product of a whole number. Write the product as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So let me show you what I mean. I probably shouldn't erase that because I'm just going to write it again. All right, so if it was the same problem we just did, which was 4 times 2/3, and it says, right now, this is a product, right? We know that because of the multiplication symbol. So they want us to write the product as a product of a whole number, there's that number symbol, and a unit fraction. Remember, a unit fraction has a numerator of 1. Okay? So I'm going to put my equal sign. So they want me to write it as a whole number of a unit fraction. Whole number and unit fraction. So how this works is I'm going to do the same thing I did in the last problem. I'm going to pretend this 3 is not here. I'm going to do 4 times 2. My whole number is going to be 8. Okay? Times my unit fraction, denominator stays the same. So that would be my answer. So again, this is for if the directions say write the product as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Simply multiply your whole number and your numerator to get that whole, okay? And then you're just going to slide your denominator over and pop a 1 on the top because that's going to be your unit fraction. All right? So again, this will be if the directions say write the product as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Let me give you another example. This one also is in your notes. You know what? Let's do both. So if they wanted you to solve it, 6 times 2/9. All right? They want you to get just a fraction over here. They want you to get the answer. 6 times 2/9. No, 6 times 2/9. I'm going to slide my 9 over. Denominator stays the same. And multiply 6 times 2. My answer is 12/9. Okay? Just multiply your whole number times your numerator to get a numerator of 12. Denominator stays the same. So that's if they wanted the answer. Okay? Again, read the directions. For the same problem, it might say, I'm going to write the same problem, 6 times 2/9. It might say, write the product, which this is our product, as a product. So they want another multiplication problem. So I'm going to do multiply. Write the product as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So how do I do that? How do I get my whole number? I'm going to multiply my whole number that I already have, which is 6, times my numerator 2. That would give me 12. Write the product as a product of a whole number and now a unit fraction. So my unit fraction, denominator just slides over. It's going to stay 9. And pop a 1 on the top. That would be my answer if the directions said write the product as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Don't get confused between the two, okay? So you can see, though, if I did this, 12 times 1/9, guess what it would equal? 12/9, right? 12 times 1 is 12. Slide your 9 over. It would equal 12/9, okay? So if you're confused, I will be online today at 9:30 in the morning from 9:30 to 10:30. So make sure you join room 130 if you need help with that. Okay? What I would like to do now is the second part, which would be listing multiples. All right? So this would be on the second part of your notes, this right here. Okay? So in our notes it says list the next 4 multiples of the fraction 4/7. Now, just like last week, our denominator is not going to change. We are simply going to be counting by our numerator 4. Okay? So every single time, my denominator is going to be 7. That's not changing. All right? So I'm going to think 4 plus 4 is 8. I'm counting by 4s. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12/7. 12 plus 4 is 16. And 16 plus 4 is 20. 27. So it got bigger into smaller in my size for some reason. I don't know why, but you can see here that the denominator, when I'm doing my multiples, did not change. It stayed the same. And each time my numerator, we added 4. okay? Just like we would if we were doing whole number world. All right, so that's going to be key. All right, let's do the next example from your notes. All right, so same thing. It says list the next 4 multiples of the fraction 2/8. All right, so that's what we're starting with. So what do I already know? If I'm doing my multiples, well, I know I'm going to have 4 more. I also know that my denominator is just going to be the same thing every time. It's going to be 8. That's not changing. Okay? All right. So now I'm thinking 2 plus, I could think of it 2 ways, right? I could think of it 2 plus 2 is 4. 8. Okay, you could think of it plus 2. All right. You could think of it over here, so 2 plus 2. You could also think of it as 2 times 2. Right? 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. You could also say 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. But every single time, okay, we are adding 2 to it, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you can do it whatever makes sense to you in your head. 2 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10. Or you could also think of it as multiplying. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. You come back to the 2 every time if you're multiplying. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10. For me, personally, I like just counting by whatever that numerator is. It's less thinking that I have to do. I'm just adding to it in my head over and over and over again. All right, guys, so what I would like for you to do now is you are going to do on page 463 in your Unit 8 math book, you are going to do number 2, number 4, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 problems you have to do. And for numbers 4 and 5, pay very close attention to those directions. I would be boxing important words. Watch this video as many times as you need to. And also, if you can either send a picture to us or you can go to the Flipgrid and you can post it on there as well. All right, guys, good luck. And if you have any questions, hop on Room 130 or shoot me an email and I will get back to you. All right, I miss all of you very much.